Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kauai County Council Roundup here at Ho'ike Studio. My name is Mel Rapozo, Council Chair, and I'm with Councilmember Addison Bulosan. Thanks for joining, man.
Thanks for having me.
This is our recap of our council meeting that we had yesterday, March 13th. It was a fun day, good discussion, awesome debate.
Yeah.
It's always great when we can agree to disagree, but it started off really cool. We had certificate presentations to the Waimea High School varsity girls paddling team, who took the state championships in the open category, the first time that a public school, non-ILH school has won that championship. So we had the coaches and the seven girls here at the council chambers, and impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that kind of got me going was how humble they were, number one, but number two, how hungry they were. A lot of them came up and said, as much of it is a celebration, their goal is beyond just states. They expressed how much they want paddling to be recognized worldwide, and their pursuit is not just to win in these categories, but to promote the culture and the practice, and hopefully get it into the Olympic arena and get it recognized as an actual Olympic sport. And so I think that's awesome.
We would love to see paddling become a collegiate sport. So these athletes, men and women, boys and girls, that can pursue paddling with scholarships at college. But the ultimate goal is to get it into the Olympics, which would be so cool to push forth our culture. I mean, what they talked about, the coach talked about, Kaina Makua said, the rule is whatever pilikia, whatever baggage you have when you come to the beach, all of that you gotta leave out before you jump in a canoe. And when you get into that canoe, you gotta be pure, you gotta be pono. Just the one thing about sports, especially at school level sports, is not just the learning and teaching of the sport, but the life lessons that come with it, man.
Yeah, and that's exactly another point that was shared by the coach about how it's about building character. And that ability to do that and work together with someone and to really focus on a specific goal, and regardless of what's going on in the world, be able to still accomplish something based on your ability to work together and share in the mission and the vision of what we're trying to accomplish. And so I'm always, whenever we get these certificates and presentations, it's so hard for me because I get emotional because I'm just like, I think I shared last time, I've never won a championship in that level or in life in general, in any sport. And so to get to live through these kids and them breaking through all these new amazing records that they're breaking, it's just special to share with them and then share with all of you. So we truly encourage you guys to, if you ever run into a paddler, especially the Waimea High School paddlers, congratulate them, anyone from Waimea High School, and all the coaches and families. Wow, I mean, what time and dedication and energy you put into the family unit to make that stuff happen, it's amazing.
That race that they won was over 4 hours of paddling. I asked the council members, imagine if just walking for 4 hours. These girls are paddling nonstop 4 hours. Incredible achievement. And to your point about the championships and not ever winning a championship, remember back in the day, it was rare when a Kauai school would win a championship. Very rare. And now, just in this term alone, Waimea High School football championships back to back. And then we had the Island School soccer. We had these girls paddling. We're seeing more and more Kauai athletes winning championships at the state level. And that's a really big achievement for a small island like Kauai. So yeah, congratulations again to the Waimea High School girls paddling state champions. Unbelievable. Open division now. That means the best of the best. Then we had our invocation by Reverend Tomo Hojo from the West Kauai Hongwanji, which was very appropriate right after the West Kauai girls championship. So words of wisdom, which was actually really cool. And then we had our report from the Cost Control Commission, which our Cost Control Commission is set up with one task, and it's to find cost saving measures for our county departments. They meet throughout the year, and then they are required to provide a report to the county council for right before our budget session. So we had that update yesterday. They came up with two recommendations. One was to waive the electronic payment charges, the ACH charges. So if you pay anything online, there's always a 2 or 3%, 3.5% fee. Cost Control Commission came out with a recommendation that if we waive that fee, more people would use the online payment systems. I use it for my registrations. It's fantastic. But I pay that surcharge. A lot of people do not use it because of the surcharge. So if we waive that, it would obviously alleviate a lot of staff time from our employees at the office that's got to open envelopes or process checks, make deposit slips, take it to the bank. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the challenges right now. We're seeing workforce throughout our entire community. These menial tasks that could be converted just by utilizing technology and making sure we're staying up to date and making it more accessible, to have that as a barrier just doesn't make sense on the cost side of things if the benefit is going to play out. And so it's super important for us to have the Cost Control Commission to really go with a fine-tooth comb before budget and present to us and show us some places that we can save in our budget and make sure we're being fiscally responsible. And so I thought that was an amazing find. I would have thought that just kind of conceptually, like I know for myself, I really hate writing checks. In fact, I don't think I have a checkbook. Yeah, that's right. So I have to go to the bank and go get those temporary checks. So I typically play online and it's always one of those where it just clicks off in my head like, 3.5%. I get it, but okay.
I justify it as the cost of gas, that I got to drive into Lihue and go make my payment. If I do it online, I justify it, but I know for a fact that many people don't do it because of that fee. So, that's something that I hope we will have that discussion. The mayor's State of the County address was today, and he mentioned that 70+% of our budget is for salaries and benefits. So wherever we can alleviate the workload and, over time, possibly reduce the size of the workforce because we are using technology, it's something that we got to recognize and address. And then the second point, which one that I fully agree with, is we got to have better communication with our taxpayers as it relates to real property tax exemptions and programs that provide relief. We have been talking about this for a long time, that the one letter that you get and with everything crammed on it, the Cost Control Commission said, to try to find a better way to better inform our taxpayers, our residents here, on the programs that they are eligible for.
Yeah, and that's another great find. You'd never think that increasing communications would reduce costs. Well, actually, you kind of do think that as a normal function, but it makes sense. And one of our council members shared, Councilmember DaCosta, about how he normally gets reminders via text, via email, and for other things that are just as important as your property tax bill, and that, exploring, again, looking at technology and looking at ways that we can be more efficient with communication is a key place that can improve function in the government and reduce costs. So that makes total sense. And yes, we've been talking about that one since actually I got in, and I'm sure that was talked about before.
Yeah, it's confusing at times, and so we will definitely take that under consideration as we move forward in the budget. Right after that, we had our resolution urging the state, basically opposing the Senate bill that would legalize recreational marijuana. This was first heard 2 weeks ago at our council meeting, and we had very interesting debate, and it ended up in a 3-3 tie on the vote. Councilmember DaCosta was traveling, so he was not at that meeting. So our council rules basically, if anything gets a tie vote, it automatically defers to the next council meeting, which was yesterday. So we got to hear again from the public, from experts, and obviously council members. And we had a great opportunity yesterday because Councilmember Addison, Bulosan's staff member, is a school teacher out at Waimea High School, and she just happened to have her class there for a tour and to experience what it's like at a council meeting. So we had a room full of high school students to hear the debate and listened to all the testimonies. And we had mixed testimony. Some testimonies in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana, some opposed. And the council had their debate, but we had even several kids come up and testify. It was amazing. And mahalo for doing that, man,
Yeah,
getting them there.
that was fantastic. I think that's one of the things I love about of how our county council functions, and thanks to your leadership, and a lot of how we work through the discussions of things that we disagree or agree with. And the beautiful thing about it was that the class was there and they got to participate, and we had a few students did testify and share their thoughts and really learn how to have these difficult conversations that I think purposely that's why I love you bringing that resolution is because it allowed for us to have the conversation, talk about things that might not be talked about at home, and which is really important that we have these discussions with kids, with our parents, with each other, and that they got to participate at that level. And really weigh out all the sides and all perspectives so that we can make informed decisions. And I think that's probably the most wonderful thing about having the Waimea High School students there is because they were fully engaged.
Yeah.
The debate was going back and forth and all these good pieces of information presented on both sides. And it allowed us to just think clearly on how we need to make decisions.
Yeah, and resolutions have no power of law. It's basically policy statements that the council comes up with. If the resolution passes, it goes to the respective agencies to let them know, in this case, the Hawaii State Legislature, the Senate and the House, the governor and all the mayors. This is the position of the council relating to this matter. And in this case, the resolution did pass. Mr. DeCosta was present and he voted in favor of the resolution, which was opposing the legalization of recreational marijuana, but it was a 4-3 vote. And it was we don't get that often where we have an issue that splits the council like that. But I think that is, as you said, Addison, these discussions we don't have at home and we don't normally have it. I think that whenever the council is even remotely involved or potentially impacted by decisions that our state or federal government makes, that we should have a say. We should at least let them know how the county of Kauai feels. And that's why I put this on the agenda. That's why I wanted the discussion. I had no idea how this thing would end up. When I put it up there, I know my personal position was that I don't support it. And I think there's arguments that on both sides of the issue that are very valid. I respect everybody's opinion. Mr. Bulosan has an opposite opinion, but we were able to get through this without making enemies. And we were able to get through this and still be friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish Congress could be like that.
And in fact, I learned so much. I think one of the best things about being in opposition is that then you also have to investigate why, why council chair feels this way, why I feel this way, where's the information coming from, and so it actually leveled up my game in understanding why I feel this way or why I should feel another way. And there's a several points that you brought up and several expert testifiers that you brought that really shared a perspective that I think a lot of our community feels. Really important that we acknowledge all those perspectives and really make good decisions on it. You can't have that if it's not on the floor. And that's the purpose, I think one of the purpose, aside from being a policy statement, resolutions allow for the conversations to happen. This is one of the big ones. And I see, I really feel like our council, all of our council members put resolutions on the floor that are topics that our community want to talk about and want to have a statement about. And so which I really appreciate about our council. And a lot of it do come from the community. So I think, if you're watching now and there's a conversation that is happening in our community that you feel like we're not talking about, one of the big topics that was addressed in the county address today with the mayor was wildfire mitigation and how we are protecting our community. With the recent challenges that has happened in Maui, now that's top of mind. Before that, it was not really the top of mind conversation. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that, if we don't want to wait till something happens. Mm-hmm. And so a resolution actually can be a form of that too.
Yeah, and again, resolutions don't have the power of law, but in this issue here with the legalization of recreational marijuana, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, it's really, if you look at the opinion across the country on the acceptance of marijuana now has really grown over the last decade. So there's no real right or wrong answer, and it's based on our individual values, our constituents, right? We're the voice of our constituents, and that's the beauty of having a council with 7 members that have 7 individual groups of constituents that we speak for. So I would encourage all of you, if you want to listen to that discussion, Channel 53 on Hawaii. And again, thank you, Hawaii, for always being there for us. I don't want to repeat myself, but I feel like I have to. Hawaii's new direction is really making this place a community television station, and they're doing a great job, and they are everywhere. And so mahalo to Hawaii for doing that, and as well as our county website, www.kauai.gov. Just click the webcast button, and all of our televised meetings are there. You can watch it live every Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning, as far as the county council, or you can go back and watch the archived meetings. So if you want to hear the discussion on this topic regarding legalizing marijuana, I highly recommend you go check it out because it was very interesting and educational, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And let me just echo what Council Chair is sharing about Hawaii. It's communication and sharing information is a vital part in making sure that we stay connected in the community. And Hawaii is filling that gap. 'Cause I've heard from constituents that they feel a little bit like there's a news drought. I've never heard that term until recently, like in the last 2 weeks. And so, with the Hawaii expanding their coverage and allowing people to become certified producers through Hawaii, I think that's vital for our community as we try to get more information out so people can understand what's going on Kauai.
I hear that they're actually starting a news show, Kauai news show. Because the medical marijuana resolution to me is big news. I think it's newsworthy, I should say. And there was absolutely nothing about it in the paper today, any of the papers. And in fact, if you think about it, there's never anything about what happens at the county councils in the print media. For whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it's staffing shortages or whatever, but where else does does our community members have access to what's going on in their own communities, So I really appreciate Hawaii doing this and even these I just had an email yesterday from a constituent that said she loves the council roundup recaps. It was like, yeah. So people are watching, and we try to give you guys, we obviously can't stay here for 5 hours and go over the meeting, but we can give you guys the hot topics. And then, again, Channel 53 or www.kauai.gov, and you can watch the entire meeting if you want. So, again, it ended up in a 4-3 vote, so the resolution did pass, and that resolution will be sent to all of the respective parties at the state level. And it's still alive in the state at the legislature, so we'll see how it ends up, and we'll see. We'll have that discussion, I guess, at a later time.
Yeah.
After that, we just had our normal communications. We did vote on when we had this discussion in a prior roundup where the county, whenever they destroy documents, they need to come to council for permission, and they provide a list of all the documents that they want to destroy. If there's no need to keep documents that you don't need to keep, and it takes up space. So we took care of that and approved their their request. Hawaii Tourism Authority requested approval for grant funds for the cruise ship greetings at the Wili Wili Harbor. We did receive one written testimony against it. It's $62,000, and it's not our tax, it's just state money. So it is tax money, but it's to provide our visitors that come off the ship with a unique lay greeting with music and all of that. That was approved, obviously, unanimously. I'm not sure what your thoughts are. I think it's a great program.
Yeah, and whenever we think about marketing and advertising Hawaii, you usually think, do we even have to? Because you can just say Hawaii to anyone, and they're like, yeah, I know where that is and how amazing I should visit. But a lot of it is actually teaching people how to be. And that's the focus and the shift for sustainable tourism, ecotourism, and just finding right visitors to be with us and do the right things when they're here visiting us. And so a lot of it is teaching them how to be a good visitor. There's a 3-minute video now when you go to on Hawaiian Air, or if you notice when you're flying back home here, you'll see that there's a lot of billboards and things that teach people, do not go there. That's not where you're supposed to go. And as normal it is for us, if you have someone coming from, a landlocked country where they've never been in the ocean, you kind of got to provide some education. And yes, it's their sole responsibility as a visitor to educate themselves. But there's part of it where we do want them to learn the right things. And so I see whenever there's any marketing, advertising, I want to make sure that's what we're using it for. And I believe it is part of lay greeting, but I think that's also part of what they're teaching there when the people arrive, is letting them know, like, hey, don't go over there. You're supposed to be only these designated areas.
Yeah, it's belly to belly, it's face to face as opposed to a billboard or a sign or a video where, this way people get to ask questions. I think when the visitors come off the ship and they're talking to our local, many of them are kupuna that have a lot of knowledge about this place, so they get to share that. So good program, and that was passed as well. Prosecutor's office came in again for approval of a grant for Victims of Crime Act. When our residents become victims, or even visitors become victims of crime, the prosecutor's office provides a victim witness counselor and victim witness services. So again, these are grant monies. These are recurring grants that happen every year, and these monies come from grants from the state of Hawaii. So your real property tax monies can be used for something else. So again, commending the prosecuting attorney's office for utilizing grant funds as much as they do. Really alleviates the fiscal pressure off of us. And it's a great program.
Yeah, exactly. And it ties us with other programs throughout the country, so that we're using best practices. And so that's part of what a lot of these grants will have, additional things that come with it, meaning like resources or connections. And it's important that our departments are going after these funds. And it's really great to see that our prosecuting attorneys and several of our departments going after these types of funding.
We got to rely more and more on those fundings. As the federal government releases funds, our departments, we need to go after them. And in fact, they had a second grant request for $101,000, and this is for the vice section. It's the drug crime. So this grant pays for half of the crime or the drug prosecution unit. Again, alleviating fiscal pressure, and we all know drugs. It's funny, this is on the same day as we have the discussion for legalizing recreational marijuana, but this takes a lot of pressure off of our county finances, and it comes with restrictions, requirements, and reporting requirements that make sure that these funds are being used for the purposes that they're intended to. So there's never enough money for drug prosecution. So again, mahalo to the prosecuting attorney.
Yeah, and that's a huge one because it's not just a local issue, right? It's a state, international, country issue. And so pulling all these resources out elsewhere is important for us to address the entire problem.
And this one is focused on methamphetamine and opioids, the really bad drugs, right? So, and then our planning department came in for a federal highway grant in the amount of $544,000. And this one I know Addison is very akamai about, but it's the Safe Routes to School program. What is more important than making sure our kids get to ride their bikes or walk to schools in their neighborhoods? And as you know, if you've been here for long enough, prior to Safe Routes to School, prior to these funds being available for counties, our kids, it was dangerous to walk to school. So we've seen some improvements in Koloa and at Wilcox and then even in Honolulu, but this will expand the program to other schools on Kauai. And I mean, how can you say no?
No, exactly. I mean, I think they're looking at Kilauea and Hanalei. And that's the part where, if the role of government, especially county government, is to take care of us, our community, that's where we got to put the money at.
The AC unit just revved up, so
Don't worry.
but yeah, I mean, the safety of our keiki at all levels, I mean, I remember walking to school, and I remember being in Honolulu, living in Waipahu, and walking in the canal because it was safer than walking on the road or on a sidewalk. But now these kids are being provided with really walkable sidewalks and making sure that there's separation between the vehicular traffic and our kids. So, over $500,000 that'll be used by our county roads division and assuring some safe routes to school. So that pretty much sums it up as far as the county business for the day. But it was, again, I think, Addison, democracy works when there is discussion and debate and engagement from the community. And I just want to really encourage everyone. We did have a lot of engagement in the resolution. I wish we would get that type of engagement for all of the issues that we deal with, especially coming up budget.
Yes, I agree. That's one thing. Budget is coming up, and that's one of the places where I think is our biggest function as county council members, because we are able to see exactly what our departments are planning to do, propose to do, how they're proposing certain allocations of funds and what projects are coming up, especially our CIP projects, and that's where getting your feedback is the most important time. So we go through a whole series of budget reviews, and typically, I know it's one of those things where it's like, hey, community, come out. I know it's Monday through Friday in the middle of the day while you're working, but if you get a chance, click on the agenda, pull up the agenda, read that through. It's not their leisurely read, but I think it's really important for us to get your feedback, and if we can get that kind of engagement for one of our resolutions that we've had, to that kind of level of engagement for our budget, I think it allows us to make better decisions. It's always important, I think, to get perspectives. I mean, you never know who has a great idea out there, and or have connections or resources that can make things better, and that's how we gotta do business. I think that's the way we can solve most of our challenges, and we got some pretty big ones this year, and that's ongoing. And then I think a lot of it really requires kokua effort. Like, everyone needs to come together on these things.
Yeah, I keep saying that, we as council members don't know what we don't know. If there's something in your community that you need or it needs fixing, and unless we know, someone tells us, and we don't know. And we encourage that involvement. It's very simple. Our council testimony at kauai.gov is the email. I mean, feel free to send that out. When you send that email to council testimony at kauai.gov, each of us gets it immediately. It just gets shotgun blasted to all of the members at the time you send it, and we will get back to you and discuss your issue. If it's a question, whatever it is, just let us know so we can help you address those issues. And as budget time comes around, we want to know if there's something in your community that you need, that you want to see, and we will try our best to get it stuck in the budget somewhere. So I'm looking forward to it.
And stop, right? And stop.
Yeah.
And the other piece is there's some things that we should not do or not do anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
exactly.
We need your feedback.
Yeah. So as Addison said, this is pretty much our biggest function of the year is the budget, and our job is to make sure that your tax money is being spent properly. And then once we approve the budget, then it is our job to make sure that it is continuing to be spent properly. That's the balance, the checks and balances that the legislative branch, which is the county council, and the administrative branch, they work together, and 99% of the time it works really well. So awesome job, man. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Channel 53 on Hawaii, guys. You guys can check it all out. And, we just did a series of town hall meetings across the island, and Hawaii was there doing the live broadcast, live streaming it. And I got to tell you, we picked up a lot of information from the communities, and we need to do that more. And we're planning to do more once we get past this budget. So, yeah, until the next time, guys, you guys take care. God bless. We love you guys. And see you on the street.
Aloha.
Aloha.